Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a video from John Stossel's channel. It's basically something that kind of pissed me off, to put it mildly, because you have him, a self-proclaimed libertarian, having the Libertarian Party's candidate on, and he throws her softball questions, doesn't put her feet to the fire with some of her stances. He just, allows her to get away with like some really stupid shit that's said. And the thing is the Libertarian Party is a joke. Any libertarian that belongs to the Libertarian Party, no offense, you're not truly a libertarian, because libertarians don't believe in the concept of political parties. They look at the individual. They go, okay, what has this person done for me or the country, or for, say, my community? And they judge the person on their actions. They don't go by political leanings. They don't go by the false left-right paradigm, which it is a false paradigm. It's designed to divide people along a simple line, which people as individuals are not simple like that. You can be over here on one thing, over there on another, and you're not going to fit the false paradigm. But see, the Libertarian Party here, they think that they're like an alternative. They're playing the game that a true libertarian would be like, this is bullshit. Now, what I find funny is like when someone goes, well, libertarians are conservatives because they're on the, they are, say, in the Republican Party, like with, say, Ron Paul. Rand Paul is more conservative with libertarian leanings. But they look at them and they go, well, that means it's conservative. No, you have a situation where a two-party nation built off of the false paradigm, and you got to choose. They just happen to be on the Republican side, because the Libertarian Party is not only, besides the fact of being a joke, is there to draw the libertarian vote away from the false paradigm. Because you have it where they want to siphon those votes, because more often than not, a libertarian is going to tend to vote, say, with the Republicans than they are Democrats. And when you have that happening, what's the best way to draw them out? At least these days, conservative and voting Republican as opposed to Democrat. They might have, at one point, they used to be able to go and vote, on the idea of just candidates, because it just so happens most of the candidates aligned with them these days are on the Republican side. But you'd have voting for Democrat, voting for Republican. And that situation has changed because of what the leftists wanted. So the Libertarian Party has become this idea of, hey, let's draw the people away. And basically, Jo Jorgensen, she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She's a lefty, liberal shitbrick who's basically there with the Libertarian Party to distract away. It's like with 2016, all right? The Green Party, that was one of those things to siphon votes away to try to get Hillary to win. That's why Stein did her recount in Detroit. She was thinking it would help Hillary. See, which, on a side note on that, they had way more votes than they had voters there. Because once they hit the number of registered voters, they still had a shit ton of votes to count. And that's when Stein came out and went, nothing to see here. Yeah, basically you have a situation where the Green Party was there to pull votes away that would go to Trump, because you had the disenfranchised Bernie bros, you had people on the left that didn't like Hillary. And they're like, well, with the false paradigm, let's throw this third-party candidate in to draw those votes away that would go to Trump. Didn't work. But see, this is the same type of shit. I mean, she's embraced BLM. She's embraced the, I'm referring to Jo Jorgensen here. She's embraced the identity politics. She's all but short of directly announcing support for like BLM and stuff like that. I mean, she wants open borders. It's ridiculous. And we're going to get into this here, which I'm getting ahead of myself. But there's one thing I want to say before I start the video here. Well, actually, we're also going to go through the comments. But that one thing I want to say is She talks about how it isn't just being, not being racist isn't enough. You have to be actively, or being anti-racist isn't enough, but you have to be actively anti-racist. The only thing actively anti-racist can lead, the only thing it can lead to is, how do I put this? You're forcing people to think, feel, and believe a certain way, because it's the only thing that being actively racist means, because you're going to cram shit down their throat. You're basically going to force feed them things and have them think a certain way. I mean, some of you will get this reference, but if you look at Serenity, the movie, the movie from, that came out of Firefly, the series. At the beginning, you have River there, and you have the teacher in her dream tell her that we're not, we're just trying to tell them how to think or something like that. And that's what this is.
River, we're not telling people what to think. We're just trying to show them how.
She's a real piece of work. But like I said, let's get into the video here, and I'm going to comment as we go, obviously.
President Trump.
Joe Biden, President Trump.
The media talk endlessly about the presidential candidates. Biden, Donald Trump. But they leave one out.
We need to give people a real choice, and what they have now is not a real choice.
This is Libertarian candidate Jo Jorgensen.
You can spend your money better than the politicians and special interests.
Because she says smart things like that, we interviewed her. What's a libertarian?
But here's the thing. She's saying those things to appease the libertarians, but then she's, pushing the leftist bullshit. And, another thing, which he doesn't even go near here with this. When someone is censored off of social media for wrongthink, what does she do? She basically praises it. She basically says, well, they're a private business. But as a libertarian, I mean, myself as one, I look at the fact that they are a protected business, basically a government-sanctioned monopoly on the note of speech and information when you have Section 230 protections that they're supposed to be a platform. So that they're a government-sanctioned business, to some extent, a monopoly, or monopolies. And with that, there should be and there are strings attached. So technically, yes, they are a private company, but they're supposed to adhere to Section 230. And when they are censoring someone for wrongthink that, doesn't necessarily violate, doesn't violate the rules, and you're praising them saying, well, it's a private business, you're not truly a libertarian, because a libertarian would say, well, shit, they should be thrown out to the wolves. They shouldn't have Section 230 protection, especially if they want to act like that. But here you are basically going, here, Joe, you're going, well, they're a private business. I'm a libertarian, and I understand the fact that if, yes, it was a private business and it was just, a free-for-all where they didn't have government protection, they weren't sanctioned. Hey, fine, they're a private business. Censor whatever the fuck you want because you're liable as if you said it yourself. Hey, fine, whatever. But that's not the case. They are supposed to be platforms. They want to be a private business the way you're talking about? Well, then we should get rid of their protections. This is the thing that gets me about her. It truly does. Anyway.
A libertarian is somebody on your side, not on the side of special interest.
All the politicians say that.
Yeah, they do. And she's saying it. She's blowing smoke up people's asses.
Actually, I think Washington can do a better job. We saw how they shut down the country.
Shutting down the country might be appropriate in a time of a pandemic.
Young people could be out there and really have no more risk than having the flu. So is it right for the government to take away tens of millions of jobs? And I say no.
If government step back, she's...
Now, I agree with her on that. And that's her pandering to the basically the libertarians to get them to not vote for Trump. She's trying to be like, well, yeah, look at me. Yeah, vote for me because we want Joe Biden in. She's a lefty fucking plant. She's a fucking Democrat, okay, in libertarians' clothing. All right? There's a fox in the hen house here. It's ridiculous.
She says the private sector would lead the way.
Walmart says, if you want to shop in our store, if you want to work in our store, you have to wear a mask. So it shows that, yes, we can be adults without the government telling us we need to be adults.
But lots of people...
Whoa. But you have Walmart in that situation. What are they doing? They're being the parent. So instead of having the government be the parent, all you're doing is passing that off to a corporation that should just be there to sell me my fucking shit. This is not libertarian. Oh, well, we don't need to be parented. No, but you're fine with Walmart parenting you. Seriously. He should have called her out on that. Because she's just trading one parent for another.
People say
This is an absurd political philosophy.
What I think is crazy is spending a lot more than you take in. What I think is crazy is having troops in the Middle East, which makes us more at risk, just like we saw with 9/11. And what I think is crazy is actually having taxpayers pay for the defense of Germany and France. I want to turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral.
we're going to build the wall.
Okay, hold on. Before we get,
It's actually having taxpayers pay for the defense of Germany and France. I want to
okay. See, this is the thing. I agree. We should not be paying for the defense of Germany and France. Okay, and she's trying to act like, well, hey, Trump actually got them, the country she's mentioning, to start ponying up their fair share into NATO. I really think we should be like the idea that she's saying. I've been saying that long before this. A lot of libertarians have been saying that. Well, actually, a bunch of libertarians are like, we don't need a military. I mean, no offense to Ron Paul, okay, but in this political climate in this world, I'm a libertarian, but I'm also a pragmatist and a realist, and I understand when you have nations like China, okay, who are building up military forces, you don't spin yours down, okay, and shrink it. You got to play tit for tat. I hate to say it. Because we're going to end up someday in a Sino war, okay? Whether it's Sino-American, Sino-Asian, Sino-European, we are going to end up in a Sino war, okay? We're going to end up in a war with China. So, yeah, we should be like Switzerland because we can put people on the ground in hours, okay? Shit hits the fan, boom, a few hours later, we got troops there. So, I mean, we don't need these bases anymore. That, like in Germany, for example. But when she's talking about putting out money and all that, all right, we're in a situation right now where, yeah, Trump has spent some money. We have to build up our military because Bush and Obama ran it into the fucking ground. So I'm sorry that we've had to spend money on the military and have to look at the situation where you want to be armed like Switzerland, that well armed and all that, and like Switzerland, that's going to cost a shit ton of money. So, yeah, Trump, he's kind of taking care of that. And this idea, excuse me, of, what was it? The pulling troops out. Trump is pulling troops out. And you're like, well, I want to take out the troops. Trump's been doing that. You're acting like he's not.
to turn America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral.
We're going to build a wall. Jorgensen opposes Trump's immigration restrictions. We would let anybody who wants to come.
Pretty much, that's what we did before the 1920s. And
Bullshit. Okay? As someone who's actually studied history, Joe, you freaking Democrat fucking operative hiding within the Libertarian Party, we actually started limiting immigration in the 1800s, late 1800s, I believe the 1880s, if memory serves. Then in the 1920s, we increased regulation, but what we did for regulation, and you want to leave this out, was establish, say, Ellis Island as a central point of entry because we were having people just get off the fucking boat, okay, and infect huge swaths of like the community at large, because they were like Typhoid Mary spreading shit. Because we established Ellis Island for the fact of that, so people could be quarantined if they were infected. So instead of just coming off of a boat, and then, which you'd have people in close quarters on a boat, shit spreads. I mean, look what happened with the current beer virus, okay, with the cruise ships. So you have people getting off the boats and then going and infecting people. Ellis Island, they come in. I mean, obviously there was other immigration points, and they had similar setups going on, but Ellis Island being the main one, we're focusing on that. So what happens? They get quarantined, they get checked, they get checked, and if they're infectious, they have a disease, they were quarantined. Otherwise, they were allowed to continue on through. Another thing that we did, okay, on that note, with Ellis Island, was establish a way to, if someone appeared to not be above board, if they appeared to be suspicious, if there was something sketchy going on, or if their papers didn't check out, we could actually make sure that, say a criminal didn't come into this country. So that was one of the, restriction there. Another restriction, and I don't think this is too demanding. It wasn't even required that you do this in English, but you had to be literate. You just in your native tongue, because the idea is if you're literate, you're going to be more apt and more likely to be able to not only learn English to speak it, because you will be able to say, use use your native language to learn English, because, say like a dictionary, say whatever to English dictionary, but you're going to also be more apt to be able to learn how to write and read in English as well. I mean, I don't see that's unreasonable. If you're going to have people coming into this country, especially with the fact of it wasn't like how, started becoming when I was a kid, where you started seeing shit in Spanish on fucking labels in an English speaking fucking country. All right. You had to learn, just like Sam Jackson would basically say, English, do you speak it, motherfucker? Or learn it? Or English, learn it, motherfucker. That's how it was. You came here, you were thrown to the wolves. We didn't cater to you. You wanted to come here, you had to adapt. And I'm not saying like you assimilated. You still added your cultural components, okay? But you assimilated. You learned English. And this idea of, we're not going to have any problems with people just coming in, okay, because she's got no problems with open borders and just people walking across the border. It would be the same people that are coming here illegally that would just walk across the border. And what was the first thing that they did upon entering the United States? It was the commission of a crime. And she's like, they're not criminals. They wouldn't do shit. She's nuts. She is a plant. She's basically pushing a leftist thing here. She's pushing open borders. She's a globalist Democrat, plant. She's pushing the leftist agenda here and trying to sell it as libertarian. When, in order to be a libertarian, to actually have a libertarian society, you have to have a nation that controls its borders, where you don't have people just coming over and fucking over your nation, because you have people showing up. Now you're changing your demographic. Those people aren't going to want libertarian. They're coming from socialist countries that were running to shit, that were running to the ground and turned to shit because of the things that they want.
Now some people want to murder us.
The risk of somebody crossing the border and doing damage and killing us is less than the risk of being struck by lightning.
See, this is what I'm talking about. That's what I was just talking about. This is exactly what she's saying. They're not dangerous. Literally, the first thing they do is they're committing a crime as they're coming into the country.
Heading north.
There are billions of poor people. Travel is easier now than it was in the 1920s. Some people want to come here to freeload.
That's just not what the numbers are showing. Many of these federal programs need a 5-year waiting list. And if you look at the people who have the initiative to come over here, they typically have the initiative to work.
Bullshit. That's complete horseshit. Someone can go to Massachusetts, okay? It's known here in New England, okay, that back in the day, and it's still this way, and Massachusetts and California, same coin, opposite side. Well, actually, it's a double-sided coin, and they're both on that coin, okay? One, it's a toss-up. One will say, hey, hold my beer, and one up the other one. It's so funny. That's how, that's what California and Massachusetts do. Well, Massachusetts, people say, California was the place where they prototyped and started and created their whole illegal agenda, bringing them in, giving them free shit, all that. It was Massachusetts, not California. It was Lawrence, Massachusetts. All right. In my lifetime, all right, this was well known in countries like the Dominican Republic, okay, in Grenada, in South America, Central and South American countries, basically all along the whole eastern seaboard, okay? Along the Gulf, going from Mexico down, more so past Mexico. But basically, you had billboards and signs all over the place telling people to go to Lawrence, Massachusetts to collect welfare, food stamps, get free money, like with the idea of welfare, get free housing with like the Project Section 8 type stuff, get, free food, all this stuff. Okay. And people came to Lawrence, Massachusetts, and they gave them all the free shit. This was before California. And Lawrence? Ask anyone who's ever been to Lawrence from New England, or hell, not from New England, who's been to Lawrence. They'll tell you it's a fucking shithole. Got run into the ground because of that shit. California. I mean, Lawrence was a shithole before LA, San Francisco. Okay, Lawrence was the proto fucking Democrat fucking illegal shit run city. So, I mean, yeah, it ain't gonna be a problem. They ain't gonna come here for free shit. No, they ain't gonna do this. She's completely talking out of her ass. She has nothing to back her up. She's ridiculous. And now this next thing really gets me with her. It shows her true colors, what she says coming right up in a second.
This is one of the elections where there's really a difference between the two parties. People say a vote for the Libertarian is a wasted vote.
I would suggest that these two are more alike than in any previous election. Two old rich white guys who both want to make decisions for us, who both want to spend our money.
But Trump voters point out that
it's two old rich white guys. So she's identity politics. She's a fucking lefty. She's letting everyone know right there because she can't help herself that she's a fucking lefty. She literally says, well, it's two old white men. Vote for me. Identity politics. Sorry, but you're an old rich, two old rich white men. Well, you're an old rich white bitch. What makes you any fucking different when because that's kind of pandering to the left here. That's what she's doing. Because she's like, well, maybe I can get some of those left voters that would vote for Trump. So she's trying to pander to them too. So she panders to BLM. She panders to the Antifa shit, kinda, like indirectly between both. She fucking does this shit. What the hell is a libertarian gonna do voting for her? If they're voting along party lines, they're not a fucking libertarian because you don't vote along party lines. You vote for the person, the individual, which is why I'm voting for Trump in this situation. I voted for him the first time. I'm gonna vote for him again. Deal with it. I'm not voting for someone like this. I would never vote for a Libertarian Party candidate because it's a fucking joke. It's an oxymoron like military intelligence.
Reduce job-crushing regulations.
if he votes away from Trump, you Biden voters, we need to get
away from the presidency.
And you look at it's like soy boys and fucking social rejects.
The old parties have time.
Look at this. He's so fucking soy. It's not even funny. Les Marks, dude, you are no different than the fucking leftist that you're saying Les Marks on your fucking shirt with, that you're trying to attack here. And you're a dumb shit. Oh, I'm a libertarian. Well, you're a fucking Libertarian Party wannabe. You're a poser. You're not a real libertarian. And I'm sorry if that upsets people, but I'll call a real libertarian when I see one and a fake one. And this one is a soy-filled bitch of a fucking fraud. Actually, I would put money he was voting for Bernie before this shit. Because look.
End of the vote. But Jorgensen's...
Look at him. He's like the prime Bernie voter. He looks like a butthurt bitch of a fucking Bernie bro. Holy shit. He is. He's got to be.
There's another... Need another candidate? Well, different. Here's a quick look. Drugs should be legal for adults.
Okay, all drugs. I'm not a fan of fentanyl with how making it legal, with how China is literally using it to attack us, okay, as a form of warfare. But I mean, weed and stuff like that, okay, fine. You know, but when you have something being used as a weapon, making it legal is just going to make it easier for China to fucking screw us over with it. And the trade thing, oh, this one's another thing that really got me.
This is such a tired old because I buy gas from them and they buy.
So she brings this up. Well, it's the gas station. First off, there's not a trade deficit because you are literally trading one item for another. That's not a trade deficit, you dumb bitch. Okay? Now, if you say we're paying money and not getting gas, that's a trade deficit because you're getting it's a bad analogy all around because you are getting one thing for another. It's a business transaction. That's not a trade deficit. Trade, excuse me, on the note of whether you have a surplus or a deficit is not a business transaction. It's about how much goods travel across your borders. And she leaves this out, and this really pisses me off. Every goddamn nation, for the most part, has protective trades against the United States, which helped with the fact of the outsourcing and sending all of our industry and shit like that to China and other places, okay? All those tariffs help to screw the United States. When you have NAFTA, supposed to have free trade between Canada and the United States, and Canada has protective tariffs on milk and milk products, okay, from the United States to protect these farmers that don't want to be able to have to expand and want to keep their prices real high, okay, and actually compete. All right, that's America's fault. That's a trade deficit. When we're supposed to have free trade, in order to have free trade, it's got to be a level fucking playing field. So on the note of this, you have these cheese producers in Canada that want a milk product from Wisconsin. They've lobbied their government to give it an exemption, everything like that, so that they could get it. Because it allows them to make cheese faster without sacrificing quality. Wisconsin, the milk producers want to make the deal. The cheesemakers in Canada want to make the deal. But the milk producers in Canada, have lobbied the government and toss it money to make sure that there's a protective tariff. But that trade deficit is the United States' fault because no one wants to buy a good. Germany. A lot of Germans, for whatever reason, would love to have, your American-style pickup, especially the F-Series. But Germany's auto industry, they've got, lobbied the government and everything, and they have protective tariffs that were enacted by the government to protect them. So that's why you really don't see American-made cars being sold in Germany. People can't buy the, F-Series because of these tariffs, and they can't get their hands on them. Okay, a good example, another one that destroys her bullshit. You have Harley Davidson. One of the major reasons why they opened up their Asian operations was because not only does, say, Germany, which is a place that, again, want American goods, they want Harley Davidsons, along with the EU, have tariffs against, specifically, say American motorcycles, which were targeted tariffs against Harley Davidson specifically because at the time that they were created and enacted, Harley Davidson was pretty much the only American motorcycle company of any consequence or really there on the playing field. So basically, what they did is to get around that, because the tariffs specifically, even though they don't specifically target Harley Davidson in name and do so by where they were manufacturing from, okay, they opened up their Asian operations to sell the American motorcycle experience to Germans and other Europeans, which to me, okay, they might go, okay, yeah, the bike's cheaper, but any self-respecting Harley rider is going to look at that and not see it as an actual Harley. They're going to see it as a fucking pale copy because it doesn't have the provenance. Okay, it doesn't have the legit fucking backing of being an American fucking legend because it's made in fucking Asia. But they had to do that to get around the protective tariffs. Now, if you want to have free trade and stop talking like a fucking idiot, well, then what you got to do is what Trump is doing, like with China. If China's not going to play fair, well, fuck you. We're going to put tariffs on your shit. And now that they start, before, the beer virus, they started shitting themselves. And they were actually looking at, well, fuck me. We can't bend over the U.S. anymore. You have to fight fire with fire. You can't just say, well, okay, I'm going to drop all tariffs and let you all fuck me. All right, basically you're looking for a gangbang with no Vaseline, no lube, not even a fucking glob of spit. And you get anally raped the whole way until you get run into the ground and you're long gone.
I would suggest that we limit gun themselves.
That's pandering to the libertarians, and also that's to pander to the people who would vote for Trump. See, she is a fucking plant. She's trying to get everyone from everywhere, and it's not the fact of, hey, vote for the Libertarian Party. It's, hey, we want Joe Biden in.
Biden says it's just a
get a rung on the ladder to
threat to the health of our planet.
And we
big government. There's more pollution.
debt now. What would you do?
Need to stop spending. Increase.
Now, this is what I like to say about this. That's common fucking sense, and every fucking candidate has said it. So, yeah, except for recently, because you have Democrats, we got to spend, because they've changed their idea. We can just, from we got to cut spending, or raise taxes and keep spending where it is was probably the more apt thing. But they've now looked at it as we can just keep printing money out of thin air. She's doing this shit to pander. That's all it is.
And it's just causing more problems.
Problems all the time, and that's help us make more, please.
So basically, like I said, yeah, I needed to go through this, and I mean, she's ridiculous. She talks out her ass. I mean, good example, the whole immigration thing. She is playing a fucking game here. She's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And I had to call this out because you get Stossel here throwing her softballs. He ain't calling out her shit. I mean, hell, you would think he would want to call out, well, what does being actively racist, actively anti-racist mean? That's a legit question to ask her, because common sense dictates that it leads to the fact of how I said earlier, you're going to force someone to think, feel, and behave a certain way. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I've gone through it, said my piece. Let's get through the comments here, and we'll end things at that. But, I mean, this is what I put. Jo Jorgensen isn't a libertarian. She's a lefty posing as one. As in, she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She has literally pushed cultural Marxist identity politics crap. That definitely has nothing to do with the equality of the individual. And then I went through and I went on and I go through and I show how she's full of shit with the whole immigration thing, like where I talk about not the 1920s. I mean, as you see there. So yeah, we're not going to go through all that, but I just want to go and show you this. I mean, I like this, look at the ratio. That should be way more the other way. And it was. I think they got some bots or shit going on there, because this is some fresh shit. Because when I checked it the other day or yesterday, it wasn't nearly that many pluses, but I think it's getting some backlash. So yeah, they might have some bots liking it, because I mean, just look at the comments. I'm surprised. You haven't seen like it get flooded to try to get those comments out of here. It's so funny. But also, I'm tired of hearing the phrase "alt white men" used as criticism. Yeah, exactly. Minity. She embraced the toxic so-called anti-racist ideology of the critical race theorists. That's an instant disqualifier for me. Potato. Anyone who used old white men as some kind of valid criticism immediately loses my respect. I despise identity politics. Just tip it. Just hearing two rich old white guys turn me off fully. Race and wealth shouldn't be an insult. Yep. This was one of my favorites. Libertarian here. I'm not for open borders. Trump is ending wars and bringing soldiers home. She supports BLM and identity politics. She lost me. I mean, you look at the likes on these things. All right, 414 likes. Old white guys. Next. I mean, she's definitely getting her ass whooped here. And it goes on and on. We'll read a couple more. If you want libertarians to run the government, vote for the ones smart enough to run as Republicans/Democrats. Candidates running with the Libertarian Party never win, even in the smallest of races. They've got no campaign money, and most Americans stick to voting their own party anyway. Realistic. She's not going anywhere. Immigration is a big deal to Americans, and she doesn't get it. The threat of someone crossing our border and doing harm is less than the chance of being struck by lightning. You cannot make up your own statistics to just have another point to back stance. The rich old white lady doesn't like rich old white guys. That's a question. The rich old white lady doesn't like rich old white guys. That's hypocritical that's hypocritical sexism and racism right there. I mean, she gets roasted through this whole thing. It's hilarious. But anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.